Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beatdown Bandits podcast. I'm Colin, and today I'm just kind of discussing a very simple question, and it's just, is watching others play video games fun for you? So now, kind of before I get to like present day streaming and YouTube and stuff, I kind of want to jump back like 25-ish, 30 years or so, and kind of go back to like my first consoles. NES, SNES, Sega, all those. So um, now I can remember those being like super amazing gifts as a kid. I know one of my favorite Christmas, like as a child, one of my favorite Christmases was getting a Game Boy. And you know why? Because it was a solo thing and it was like mine, right? It was cool. So now like we had like I think an Atari at one point, and they were like an NES about that time. And but I was a pretty young kid when those came out, and my brother was 4 years older than me. So naturally, like I kind of always was like stuck watching him play a lot. And typically, an older sibling, they're just not great about allowing their younger siblings to like take turns with that type of stuff, which pretty much forced uh, they were like for them to take turns. They were basically forced. That's the way I want to say that. Trying to determine how I wanted to say that is mom and dad basically forced them to take that turn, which made it worse, right? Like they didn't want to do it anyway, and now mom and dad are against them. So they just didn't want to give it up to their younger siblings. So I get that. So now I get my turn, right? So mom and dad said, hey, older sibling, give the younger sibling a turn. I'm a little kid, I'm like 8 years old, and so I get the controller, and boom, I instantly die, right? And now it's big brother's turn again. It sucks for sure, right? So the gameplay was, or the Game Boy, the original Game Boy that I had, and I think I got like a color at some point or whatever, and then a little bit older, like the DSs were real cool. But it was a sweet gift. So we both got one that Christmas, which was great. And I'm guessing like our parents were just like sick of us yelling at each other. So that was a good, a good gift for them too, is they didn't have to listen to us yell at each other anymore. So kind of back to that original topic, is watching others play video games fun for you? Back then it was a hard no. Like I hated it, and I think most people hated it. Like nobody wanted to sit around and watch others play while you couldn't, right? It kind of sucked, and frankly it just made me want to play more. But we weren't watching like an entertainer, right? We're watching our friends and our siblings play, and we're watching them kind of take their turn while we're anxiously waiting to get ours. So there's obviously like a ton of like co-op games, two-player games, things like that, but that's really not what I'm talking about here. um, it's really just when you're kind of forced to watch somebody else. So you're just on that sideline and watching. And so back then it was a hard no, for sure. So let's jump forward to today. Now there's YouTube, and there's Twitch. There's several other streaming services. A couple have gone under, like Mixer and stuff like that. But there's millions and millions of people, non-exaggeration, going to on the daily to watch others play video games. And it's a very fascinating topic. So what's the difference between 25, 30 years ago to today? Like what the heck happened? So I've got my own assumptions, and then I kind of got into some like research topics on this. So we're now like, why are we obsessed with watching others play, like while we watch? So my gut kind of tells me it's just because we're like in an information age, right? Like we want like kind of like an instant gratification type stuff, and we're addicted to screens, and getting like live quick entertainment. Like we have all these streaming services and Netflix and things like that. We want things like at our fingertips now. And if I can't go buy a game, like the next best thing is like, oh, I could watch somebody do it, and I could almost like save myself money, like to see if this game sucks, and kind of get their feedback and ask them questions. It almost saves money to do that, because Twitch is a free service. Like you can sub and donate and things like that, but technically you can watch everybody for free. You just have to deal with some ads on the rare occasion. So that's really it. It's a free service, as is YouTube. It's a totally free service, and there's live people on YouTube. There's amazing edited gameplay that you can watch, and it's all free. That's really nice that you can do those things, right? So yeah, nowadays I feel like we're in a very stressful age, and especially like these last several years, like everybody's really stressed, right? So to me, it was like, does everybody just need that distraction or whatever, and different ways of being social? Because like you look at people at a restaurant and everybody's sitting there on their phone, interacting probably with somebody else and not in that face-to-face thing. And I'm guilty of it. Every single person is that has a phone, right? Everybody has done it when they should have been talking with somebody face-to-face. They're sitting there, on Twitter, Facebook, and texting somebody else. And it's an addiction, right? So everybody kind of wants that quick social thing. And the easiest and the best way that people have learned how to do that now is like through a phone or whatever. So moving on, I found a very interesting research paper. So it was actually it was amazingly well done. It was a 10-page research paper on this exact topic. So I'll put a link to it in the description on the YouTube video for this podcast if you want to dig into it yourself. It's amazing. I didn't go through it word for word. I kind of read through some of the tables and some of the intros and the outros to that. But it was very well written and thought out paper. So, kudos to the author for that. They did a great job. They surveyed Twitch streamers and watchers of all ages, sexes, education levels, etc., and kind of dug into their own motivators for watching Twitch streams. So it was fascinating to me for that. So I'm going to talk about, they call them like the need factors of like why they needed to watch Twitch. And also like what category they fit in and how often they watch, what sex they are, what their age is, etc. So it was a great deep dive into that topic. And so it is fascinating. I'll probably end up going through and reading all of it. But it's really good. So let's talk about these 5 need factors involved, and then we can kind of move on. But each of these topics that I'm going to discuss actually has like different subcategories to it. So it's pretty fascinating. So the 5 needs, number 1 is cognitive. So I need to look at my notes here, so I don't want to mess these up. So it's cognitive. It's gathering information, how to get through like certain parts of a game, etc. Basically trying to learn something, right? So that cognitive need to watch. Affective, an affective need. So something emotional or an aesthetic experience, something basically just pretty and visual to look at, or potentially something to listen to, some type of background noise almost. So some type of an aesthetic. Personal integrative, so enhancing their credibility or confidence. Number 4, social integrative, enhancing connections with friends, family, etc. And I think this is a biggie for Twitch. And then number 5, which is also probably a biggie for Twitch or other streaming services or YouTube, is attention release. That's a biggie for me as well. I'm not a super social person. I would much rather, I could probably go days and days without talking at all, without any type of problem. But a lot of people can't do that. So they need that social stuff. And especially like during like the age of like quarantine and COVID and stuff, people were stuck inside. So Twitch really went boom during this stuff too. So it was a big release for a lot of people, and kind of getting that social interaction from that. So yeah, those are the 5 categories that pretty much everybody really fit into somehow in some way, and what their biggest needs are for watching Twitch. So it was fascinating. So it is a good read. Again, I will put a link to that in the description of this podcast YouTube video. So all those really actually make sense to me. And honestly, for me, like those needs or whatever, as I was trying to think about like myself, like what are those categories do I fit into? And it varies 100%. It varies like day to day, mood for me, hour to hour. to be honest. If I'm watching somebody stream, it just varies. Or if it's just a regular like gaming YouTube video, you know, sometimes that's just like my mellow time. Like I just want to be mellow and chill, release that tension or whatever. That's kind of like my aesthetic, and my tension release is I just sit around, lay around, whatever, chill on my recliner and watch a bunch of YouTube videos. I do it pretty much on the daily. I'm watching at least 10, 15 YouTube videos. It's just what I do. It's just my entertainment, my release, and kind of like the background noise that I need. Um, and if honestly, if I'm feeling a little bit more social, or whatever, um, or I sometimes just like I just want to support somebody, not so much like any cognitive stuff. Like I don't feel like I learn tons from watching streamers, or now I've definitely gone and like looked up Easter eggs and things like that, but that's a very rare thing. But for me, it's a little bit more of the effective, sometimes an aesthetic for me. Sometimes it's a social thing. Most of the time it's just a tension release. And a lot of times like I'll watch and I won't be social at all. I might, ask how people are doing. And then I might watch a stream for 30 minutes to an hour and never say another word. Like I just watch and chill and have a good time. It's like that background noise. So that's kind of, for me, it's a really nice feature also, is like that live interaction, especially with the streamer, but also with the other people that are in that particular person's chat. So it's fascinating. If you're not super familiar with Twitch or like video game live streams or whatever, like I recommend it to a lot of people. It's very fascinating. I try to support as many like the little guys that I can as well. So I kind of jump into those, and people with 0 to 15 or 20 or less viewers, and try to interact with them. Like it's a really easy way to get to know somebody. When you kind of get into those big streamers who might be more entertaining at the beginning, it's really hard to interact with people and get to know people that way. If you put yourself in a room with 1 to 5 other people, odds are you're going to communicate with those 1 to 5 people if you're in there with an hour. If you go into a room with thousands of people, sometimes that's a little too intimidating, and you feel like you're just being ignored because there's way too many people, right? So just look at it that way. So I always try to support the Davids rather than the Goliaths, so to speak. So that's just me. That's just my own personal thing. So for my own personal like streaming experience, like I've been streaming for actually like several years now. But I never really like publicized myself and marketed myself as any type of streamer. I never looked at it that way. I did it just kind of for fun or whatever. If somebody happened to jump in, they would probably be entertained because it was really just me and my friends. We do a lot of stupid stuff. When we play, we goof off a lot. We actually have fun playing video games. We very rarely take things serious. So we're kind of a little bit more of that entertainment aspect. But I streamed for years with like 0 viewers or 1, maybe 2 viewers, like max. Sometimes people would say something. Sometimes they would just kind of sit there and lurk in the background and never say anything. That's perfectly fine. But I always watched my chat and make sure that if somebody were to say something, I'm going to catch it right away. And I want to see those things. But yeah, I mean, I would stream and just have a blast with 0 people watching. I didn't care. And honestly, for me, especially over like the last several years that I was streaming, is I honestly just used it as like a medium almost for like my YouTube channel. That was more important to me rather than the streaming aspect. Is I wanted to make more and better content for YouTube. So I was using the stream to kind of push one for the other. And sometimes I would be able to stream, get some good content out of that, and yeah, put it into a YouTube video. So it just worked out better that way. So yeah, it was almost like a recording device. That's probably just the best way to put that. So now, really, over the last couple months, though, my YouTube channel actually has some traction, so to speak, and that's okay. I still don't really like market myself and publish that, but I've been involved a little bit more of a community within Twitch and been a little bit more interactive. And so that's been actually really cool over these last couple months. It's actually turned into something where people want to come and watch and chat um, with me and in my channel, and then they're talking with others, and like that's a really cool experience. So just forming that little community has been really nice for me. Like I don't socialize very much, so it's been a really cool experience to have people come in and chat. And I've actually now played games with some of these guys, and it's actually been really really cool and fun experiences. So yeah, I've really loved it. And yeah, like I probably am never gonna like put a big focus on streaming personally, but I still enjoy it. And so yeah. So let's move on. So something else that I kind of jotted down that I wanted to talk about is and a very related topic is, why do people want to watch streamers? And they want to watch good streamers. So I've seen a lot of people talk about like, oh man, I've been streaming for months and nobody comes. Meanwhile, I roll my eyes because I was doing it for years. But they're like, oh man, I've streamed like 100 times and nobody's come to watch me. And so I'll jump into their stream or whatever, and they're not interacting. Like even if there's like people saying something in the chat, they're not interacting, or they're just not being entertaining. So I feel like there's like two categories of streamers, right? There's one is you have to be good at it. Like you have to be good at your niche, the game that you play, all video games, the type of game, whatever. Like if you're like a legit first person shooter, or you're good at platformers or RPGs or horror games or whatever, you just have to be talented at that craft. So you have to have that skill that makes it entertaining. It's like, man, this person's really good at this game. So you have to have that. If you're not so good at games or video games, you can use that as your niche. Is what I do. I'm not great. I'm very average is what I consider myself, to be a very average video game player. I'm not great at really anything. There are certain like modes of certain things that I might be really good at, but I'm not awesome. I'm never going to be any type of pro gamer. That's just not me. So the second category is, I think you have to be entertaining or funny. If you're not super skilled at a game, then you should be somewhat talkative. You should be a fun person to just hang out with, chill with, and let people kind of get to know you. So just talk. If there's 0 people in your chat, in your stream that are watching you, just talk. Like I struggle with that personally. Sometimes I just get in a little zone and I'm not feeling super social, but I'm streaming and I'm just playing and playing and playing, and I don't know. And I feel like sometimes there's like, you just need to blurt stuff out, like what you're doing, like what your thought process is while you're playing. So again, even if it's 0 people, like just talking. Now, if you're playing with other people, like it's super easy. You can just have that conversation and then involve your chat as needed. But if you're solo, you're playing your own thing, which I do a lot of. I love, like that's my form of just release, is just playing video games a lot. And I don't play tons of video games. I only play a few times a week, but it's just my like time to break and chill and get my stress out of the way. So yeah, I feel like just trying to get that conversation rolling, even solo, even by yourself. Just do it, just play. So if you're streaming out there, you're struggling or whatever, like I recommend to people, if you're not super awesome at something, then just talk. Have fun, talk about what you're doing, whatever, and interact with your chat. Like the people who don't have their chat up, I don't know what the point is of streaming, I guess. So watch your chat and interact with everybody that comes in, good, bad, annoying, whatever. Just interact with them. And I feel like that helps. I'm not any type of professional streamer or whatever, but I try to interact with everybody, make it as entertaining as possible. And usually between myself or my friends, we're doing something stupid enough where it makes it entertaining. So, all right. So yeah, I mean, that's it for today's podcast. Just a topic I've been thinking a lot about here recently. And So I'll do my best to schedule something. I'm actually trying to work on scheduling something for tomorrow to record. It'll be out in like a week or two when we actually make that podcast out, but something with the whole crew and get everybody together and actually have an actual discussion with multiple people again. And hey, if you want to be a guest, let me know. I know I've had 1 or 2 people actually ask, and I've actually been trying to work on a couple different people. Some voice actors of Apex. Actually, there's 2 people I've been working on trying to get something scheduled, and I don't want it to fizzle out. I'm a little worried it's going to, but I'm doing my best to try to get 2 people on here, and if that happens, that would be amazing. I don't know. Who knows if it will? I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but I'm gonna do my best. So again, that's it. Yeah, thanks for watching, listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're at. Thank you very much. But just be sure to review it if you're listening, and subscribe, all that stuff. All right, we'll see you again soon. Later.